Hey, everybody. My name is Phillip Williams, and this is the Faith in Business, the Balance podcast. And I'm here with episode 3, and I have a special guest here today. And I'm just excited to get a chance to talk with Ruth Snyder. Just met her, got a chance to hear her story, and it's fascinating. I'm really impressed by her story. She is a Wall Street Journal best-selling author, amongst other things. She's written a lot of books and helped other people write books, and it's just really exciting to be able to talk with her today. Without any further ado, just want to welcome you, Ruth. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Philip. It's a joy to be here today.
Awesome. Let's get right into it. This is what we've been doing. We've just been jumping right in. And what I usually ask my guests, the first thing I ask is just to tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, and how you got started doing what you do. Just whatever's on your heart, just share with us, and we'll listen. So,
thanks. So I had the privilege of being raised by parents who were missionaries in Southern Africa. I was born in Michigan while they were waiting for their visa, and they took me on my first airplane ride when I was only 6 weeks old, along with my 2 brothers. My one brother is 4 years older, and my other brother is 5 years older. And then my younger sister was born in South Africa. My dad worked at a print shop as a printer. And so reading and writing was very important to all of us. My mom was a good writer herself. And this was in the late 60s, early 70s, when there was no internet, and letters were Letters were basically the way of keeping in contact with people overseas, because phone calls were very expensive. And so I met all of my relatives through reading and writing letters before I met them in person.
wow.
I guess I took my writing a bit for granted. My dad was dyslexic, so I understood his struggles, but I didn't realize that a lot of people have a hard time stringing words together and describing things, but I grew up doing it, and so I just took it for granted. We had the privilege of going to wonderful places like Victoria Falls, which is twice as high as Niagara Falls, and we went to game reserves as a family where we saw lions and giraffes and zebras running and living normal lives in their own element. Wow. So I have a lot of really good memories from my childhood. But getting back to writing, I didn't realize what a gift I had until I was an adult. Okay. I was able to do things in high school, like work on the yearbook and do the school newsletter. In Bible college, I had the privilege of putting together the syllabi for the professors, and it was just a job. It was something I enjoyed doing, and I took it for granted. Yeah. So it wasn't until I was married and had 5 children, several with special needs, and I thought that their stories should be told, that I entered a Canada-wide writing contest put on by the Word Guild, which is a Christian writing organization. And I entered their novice writing competition, and I won first place. The prize was a writing conference, and I went to that conference, and God used that conference to confirm that I am a writer and that I needed to use my writing ability for His honor and glory. However, I had 5 children, ages 1 to 11, and I worked as a school board trustee. So my days were full from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10:30, 11 at night. And I was like, Lord, okay, you've given me this gift, but how do I develop it? Because I don't have time. Yeah. But when God calls you, He makes a way for you to do what He wants you to do. And so I did figure out how to fit writing into my life. I got up earlier in the morning. I tend to enjoy hours in the morning rather than hours at night. And so morning was when I got my writing done. And I started with articles and devotionals and short stories, and then moved on to longer pieces and collaborating on books. And then I was working with a traditional publisher and was frustrated with that process. So I learned how to self-publish, and people saw what I was doing. And so they started asking me for help with their book projects. So that's
Wow.
what brought me to where I am today, where I call myself an author midwife, and I enjoy
Huh.
helping people bring their stories and books to life.
Very cool. Very cool. Wow. Wow. So you said a lot of that's a lot all wrapped in one package there. Wow. You took a chance, went to got into a contest, then you ended up getting first place in the contest. And then from there, that sparked this. You didn't even know you had this skill set. It just sparked this new avenue, this new adventure for writing for you. Is that,
Mhm.
wow, that's amazing. Wow. And then, so how many books have you written since then?
So personally, I've written 5 complete books. However, I've been involved in many book projects with other people, and I also have helped many people publish their books. So I don't I should probably count it up sometime. It's not in the hundreds, but I am thankful that God has given us the gift of words and communicating with other people. And a lot of my work has been in the Christian realm, but I've also been able to do some work just in the realm of helping writers. My first book was not a Christian book. I thought my
Mm,
first book would be a devotional, but I have a story about Twitter, or X as it's called now, which came from my work as a school board trustee. We were advocating for a couple of schools in our area, and we had gone through the usual process. And we were told that we couldn't get the schools that we wanted. And long story short, I received permission to use Twitter as an advocacy tool, and I did that and sent out a couple tweets. And the next day, we don't know of any other thing that changed other than the tweets being sent out. But the next day, everything turned around and the 2 schools were built. And so when people saw what I was using Twitter for and how powerful
mhm.
it was, they asked me to write a book helping them learn how to use Twitter. And so that was my first book, Learn Twitter.
Wow, that's fascinating. Wow. What and I don't want to jump ahead, but we definitely got to whatever resources that you have, I'd love to find out what you have and we'll make sure that other people can know about your resources because things like that people need to know. They want to know like how to utilize these tools and I think that's fascinating that you were able to number one, you were able to get the schools going and get the things going that you wanted for that initiative, but then also you discovered a way to help somebody else too. And I think that's just awesome. So
Mhm.
awesome. I wanted to talk to you about balance, right? Because that's in the name of the show is about having balance. And some people say, you don't need balance to be successful. You just go for it and all that. And then I tend to believe that if you want a healthy life, if you want a healthy family, you need to have healthy balance
Mhm.
because in my opinion, and in my book, and I think in God's book, is that family comes first after him, right? After our with him, believing in him, then family. And I'll say this, and then I'll move on. But when God created everything, He created family first,
Mhm.
right? He
Mhm.
created family before He created ministry. As a matter of fact, family is the first ministry. And I just always tell people that, look, hey, how's your family going? What's going on with your family? So with
Mhm.
that being said, like, how do you balance your faith and your convictions and the things that you do? You do a lot with writing and helping other people. How do you balance all that and just family responsibility and relationships?
So that's a great question because I agree. I find Ellie Maxwell, who started Prairie Bible Institute, which is where I went to Bible college, he said the hardest thing in the world is to stay balanced. And I
Mm,
agree. It's difficult to find that right balance. And what looks balanced for me might not look balanced for somebody else. And
sure.
so I would say the first thing that we need to do is take our priorities to God and say, God, show me how to balance all this and what balance looks like for me. I think relationship with God and seeking his will is the
Hmm.
first key to finding balance. Some of the things that I have found helpful is setting Sunday aside as a day of rest And I know that's not a popular theme today, but I believe God rested and he didn't need to rest, but he made
Hmm.
us and he knew that we needed to rest. And so I think having one day for sure that you rest and you don't do things that are business related. It could be Saturday, it could be Sunday, it could be the middle of the week for you. I prefer Sunday because that's when I go to church and it's easier for me to put that day aside. And it might be half a day, it might be a full day. I don't know what it looks like for anybody else, but I know what works for me.
Mm.
I also have tried as much as possible to involve my kids in what I do. So, no, they can't help me with my writing, but they can help with chores around the house. And so that having them do those chores and then checking up on them after saves me time. I've also done things like last year, I took my 14-year-old daughter to my writing conference with me.
Mm.
She enjoys reading and writing as well. And so we had some mother daughter time, and she was able to experience what a writing conference is like. I've also done things not lately, but I used to have an office where I could close the door, and my kids knew that if my door was closed, I wasn't
Mm.
available.
Okay.
Something like that can be helpful if you need a boundary and you have a writing project or another project that you need to get done. Just knowing, letting kids know when you're available and when you're not. And I found it also helped if my kids knew that I wasn't available at a certain time, if they knew when I would be available, that seemed to make a difference to them because they knew that I wasn't going to be unavailable for extended periods of time.
Okay. Yeah.
I've also found, I've learned from experience that when I am at my computer and my children come to talk to me, I need, if I'm able to stop, I need to turn away from my computer and look at them so that I'm
Mm.
giving them my full attention. And again, it's about letting them know that they are important and that they do have priority in my life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just being fully present when I do things with them. And then we do things like we go on family vacations together and the kids get to choose activities that they like to do. And even if it's something that
Mm.
I don't especially enjoy, I try to do that with them because they do things with me that they don't especially enjoy sometimes. So just
Yeah.
try to balance that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I really appreciate what you just said, and you you said it. It was so smooth how you just said it. When you're on your computer and then the kids come up behind you and you turn and look and you talk to them. But I hope people caught that. Right. That is a big one. I think that just
Mm,
the whole thing of stopping with what you're doing, if you're able to, right? If you're
right.
engaged in having conversation, okay, that's different. But if you're doing your daily tasks and things like that, it's okay to just pause, stop, look, make eye contact with your child, and just be in that moment with them and letting them know. It's like that nonverbal communication. It's like you're letting them know that I see
Mhm.
you, and I'm acknowledging your presence, and you matter to me. And so I just think that's really awesome. And other people, I think, need to hear that it's okay to do that. That work is
Mhm.
still going to be there. you know.
Yes, work
Yeah.
doesn't go away, but kids grow up and
Yep.
then they're not around. They
Yeah.
do need to be a priority.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah. Very cool. I got to ask this because I know that there are going to be other aspiring writers, right? That want to be where you are, or at least they want to at least get started. Do you have any advice that you would like to give to Christian authors or any author? Do you have any advice to give as to how they can get started doing what you do?
I guess the first thing is if God is calling you to write, be obedient. Don't run away. Don't try to
Mm.
hide. And make sure that you do what you can to make it happen. The next thing I would say is if you can, find community. So find a writing group or and it could be a local writing group that's happening in your area, or it
Mm.
could be an online writing group. I If you can't find one, let me know. I know of several virtual ones that are really good, and I belong to a few of them myself because writing can be lonely. So having that community really helps. And then another thing that I didn't think about and I didn't have when I first started that I realize now would have been helpful is having a prayer team support you in your writing. It's
Wow.
funny because as Christians, I don't know, maybe I'm weird here, but I think a lot of times as Christians, we dichotomize between people that work in the church and people that work at businesses or jobs.
Mm.
And we don't think of our work as spiritual warfare, but it is.
Yeah,
We
I agree.
we are all at war. Every Christian is at war.
Yeah.
And as a Christian writer and as a Christian businessman or woman, I strongly encourage people to build a prayer team around them
Mm.
because you're going to face battles, you're going to face discouragement. There's going to be days when you know that you need to sit down and do something, but you just don't feel like doing it, or there's a block there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
having that prayer team with you really helps. And
Mm.
it's as simple as contacting your family and friends and saying, "Hey, I'm stepping out into writing or
Mhm.
whatever your business venture is. Would you be willing to pray for me and support me?" And I find that most people are more than happy to support and encourage other Christians by praying for them.
Mm.
Those would be a few things. And then practically, finding a place and a time to write is really important, especially when you're first starting.
Okay.
When I first started, I needed that quiet place and that quiet time to do my writing because I wasn't able to think in a noisy environment. Now, I know there are some people that think better when there is noise. If that's the case, you can go to a coffee shop or somewhere where people are talking in the background, but you still are able to focus on what you're doing. So find that time and that place and then develop a habit by being consistent. I think those are the three
Mm.
keys to developing any new habit that you want to develop.
Very awesome. Wow, that's cool. Thank you. Those are some great tips. Kind of makes me want to go like see, hey, maybe I want to be a writer. I feel so
Well, maybe.
empowered now. But hopefully people were taking notes and listening to that and because those are some great tips. So I really thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So where can we find out about your books, your material for anybody that maybe, again, they want to get started? Do you have any coaching programs? What do you have available for folks for resources?
Sure. My website is ruthlsnyder.com. So ruthlsnyder.com. And I have a free ebook available for anyone that wants a copy. You just give me your email address and then you can download a free copy of the book. And basically, it leads you through what I call the foundational steps, 5 steps to outline your book.
Hmm.
And so I had a young fellow from Nigeria download that free book in February. And then he consulted with me. And by July, he had his book published.
Wow.
It's possible. You can publish your book this year. I tell people, actually, I have a workbook that I use with my clients who want to work one on one with me. So, yes, I do have coaching available as well. And the workbook is called Write from Book Idea to First Draft in 30 Days.
Okay.
So, it's possible to do that. Sometimes some books, especially if they're memoir, personal stories, especially if you haven't worked through some of the pain points in your life,
Hmm.
those books can take longer to write. And if you have never written fiction before and tackle a book, that might take you longer than 30 days. But I work mostly with people who are business people or entrepreneurs and want to write a book to work with, share information that they typically share with people they work with. And so that's what I usually do. And those types of books can be written in 30 days or less.
Wow. Very awesome. Yeah, man. Hey, I think I might have a book coming out before the beginning of the year. That is really cool. Because I talk to so many people and they're like, man, I'm working on this book and it's okay, a year goes by and then 2 years goes by. And you said that you had someone who got your program or got the resource in February. Is that right? And then by the summer, they had their book published.
Yes.
That is awesome.
Yes, it frustrates me. Actually, I don't know if you've heard this stat, but about 98% of people want to write a book. But of those people, only about 3% finish
Wow.
their book. And so my mission is to change that stat.
Okay. Wow. 3%. Man, that's wow.
That's
So
a dismal stat, isn't it?
yeah, that's just thinking about that. My goodness. Wow. That's awesome that you have that you've identified that and that is a goal and opportunity. And ultimately it's helping people, right? Because the more people that take action and write what's in their heart, what God gives them, then the more people are able to be helped and blessed, right? At least that's what I see. So God bless you. I'm so glad that you're doing that. Listen, thank you so much for having this conversation, Ruth. This has been awesome. And those that are listening, I just want to encourage you, go ahead and take advantage of the resources that Ruth has. It's just awesome to hear that she has that available for folks to get started on the writing and authorship. It's definitely, we'll make sure that the links that you shared, Ruth, are in the comment section and in the show description, show notes. And hey, thank you again, Ruth, for having this conversation. And if we're able to, would you be willing to come back on again another time?
Oh, for sure. Anytime.
Awesome. Awesome. We love to have you again. So we'll let you go. Thanks again. And thank you guys for listening. And we'll talk to you again on the next show. God bless.